Salutations and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Athanasian Creed, verses 34 through 36. But first, I would like to introduce you to my new roommate, Refrigerator. Say hello, Refrigerator. Yeah, nothing I can do to get rid of him. He's kind of, he came with the deal. Anyway, but first, last time on Athanasian Creed. You really can't get the guy to shut up, unfortunately. Food would be a little bit difficult to come by. Okay, and now we're back up to speed. So here's the rubric, everything that we look for as we go through the text. Let's get started. Unus omnino non confusione substantiae, sed unitate personae. Nam sicut anima rationalis, et caro unus est homo. Ita Deus et homo unus est Christus. Qui passus est pro nostra salute, descendit ad infernos, tertia die resurrexit a mortuis. There we have it. Unus we've seen many, many times before, so we know that this is going to be just nominative, singular, and masculine, or subject. Omnino is a bit of an interesting word. This one, of course, comes from omnis, omne, we know, because at least part of the stem is om-in, which is the stem of all. And then we've got this interesting inno for the adverbial form. I don't know where that comes from. And I don't know if there are any other adverbs that form that way. Maybe we'll run into one. Well, not in this, I don't think. But in other things that look through. Anyway, omnino means altogether, entirely, or wholly, as one would expect from the adverb of all. So I'm going to move that to the front in the English. Wholly one, or altogether. One, comma, non confusione substantiae. So, confusione, we have an E there. There's no clear verb, though that NT initially looks like it's the addition to the suffix. The suffix ending. Would that be right? Anyway, the modification of the stem from a present participle, but no, we've got that I there, which kind of undoes that. AE is the ending right there. So confusione could be really only ablative. We've got no preposition with it, so we'll have to figure out what function it's got right there. And then substantia, which is, I believe, a feminine word. Well, it's on the first declension, so most likely. So then our options for that one are nominative, plural, feminine, genitive, singular, feminine, and dative. I always forget that the dative is that. I don't think I very often run into a feminine singular dative word. It's weird. So we know what that one's forming. Confusione is a confusio, confusionis, and this is another one of those feminine. And I wonder, actually, I haven't paid attention, but then it's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to record, if we've run into this before. But anyway, we've got the ablative, singular, feminine form for that. So our options for our ablative function here is ablative means, not by means of confusing, ablative of manner, not in the manner of confusing, ablative of separation, we could say, not from, away from confusion. So I think means is the one that makes the most sense. And then with substantiae, owning that, not by confusion of the substance. And then we want to take a look at the next clause to confirm, or phrase, to confirm or deny. But unitate, there's E again, so this is going to be another ablative. And unitas, unitatis, this is going to be feminine because it's a os, otis, third declension. And I think we've seen it before. Personae, AE right there, is going to be the same three options as that. So I think the genitive, since we've got two of these together with two ablatives, genitive makes the most sense. So, genitive, singular, feminine, circling that one. And then we would also need to know, will these be using the same ablative function, which would make sense. So not by confusion of the substance, but ablative means by the unity of the persons, or of the person. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So that's what we're going to go for. Not by. At the last moment, I remembered we're not doing we're not doing definite articles in this. Moving on, nam, for, not the country. Sicut, of course, just means just as, or as, or just as. Anima rationalis et caro unus est homo. So we've got our verb right here, the third singular, the present tense. Homo, hominis, this is a nominative singular masculine, either being the predicate or the subject. The way that Latin normally works, the second nominative is usually going to be the subject, and the first one is the thing connected to, at least from what I remember seeing reading John. And John is written by somebody whose native language was probably Aramaic or Hebrew, so the word order is not going to be quite solid there. I really need to get back into like Virgil. Yeah. Anyway, so subject there, unus. Here we have US that we've seen before from there. We still need to figure out the rest of this. Anima, this could be another ablative, or it could be a nominative singular because of that A right there. So, nominative or ablative, singular, feminine. Rationalis, that's going to be IS for a genitive, singular, and rational. I don't definitely know the gender of this word. I think it's feminine, so that's what I'm going to write with a question mark, and I will make note of what it really is beginning in next video. At caro, caro is caro carnis, I believe, is the form which I believe we've also seen before. This one is going to be nominative, singular, and neuter. So there we've got possible nominative, 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 nominative. So then what we've got to have going on here is these two are acting as a unified subject or unified predicate because of that conjunction right there. And then unus is probably going to be modifying homo as, again, either the subject or the predicate. So then we would say, for just as the mind of rationality, the rational mind, and the flesh is one human, or we could say, for just as the mind, the rational mind, and the one flesh is human. I think the first one makes more sense with unus going with homo, because rationalis is, or is rationalis an adjective? I'm questioning myself now. I'm going to write that down as an option. As there's a third declension, is is normally going to be the nominative singular ending. And frankly, that would make a lot more sense with anima than a genitive, because then it really is modifying it as an adjective. And then it would make sense for unus to be caro. But why is it modifying flesh? Why would the early Christians be specifying one flesh rather than one human? One human makes more sense with the theme of the whole document. So I think rationally, to borrow that word, unus goes with homo more than it goes with caro. Obviously, because unus is masculine, caro is neuter. That was dumb of me. Just as rational mind and flesh are one. And we could say person, because homo, it really means it's a human being, and often we can use person instead to say that. But since we've got persona here, I don't think that would be a good idea to confuse the different translations between those two. So are one. Now let's go with human. Or man as a representative. So ita, thus. Deus, nominative, don't need to parse it again. Et homo, also don't need to parse that. We've got that right there. Don't need to parse that. Us, of course, you know, is our nominative. So thus, God and man, human, are one. Christ, comma. Then verse 36, qui, who. Qui is going to be referring back to Christus. That I right there, nominative, singular, masculine, makes the most sense, especially with passus right there. With s, these two go together from patior, and that's going to be, with the us, of course, nominative, singular, masculine. And it is a perfect tense, and it is, well, it would be passive, except that patior is deponent in the present tense, so the perfect passive changes into the perfect deponent, having a passive form but active meaning. So we would say dep, indicative. Who has suffered, pro, prepositional phrase there with nostra and salute, and right there because that's a verb. Pro is taking the ablative, singular, and we know feminine because nostra is feminine. Salute is our noun. This would be for the sake of our salvation. Descendit, it right there. So that's going to be a third singular. And then it can either be a present or it can be a perfect tense. Descendo, descendere, descendi is the problem right there. So what we need to ask ourselves in order to figure out which of the two, whether present or perfect, makes most sense, is what does the context tell us? Taking a look at the previous verb, we have a perfect tense verb. Prior to that, we have a present verb. But since passus est is closer, perfect tense also, the sequence of tenses in Latin, they want to match. They want to be close to each other. So we wouldn't go present, perfect, present without a definite reason. Is Christ, even now, descending ad infernos? No, that's something that happened a long time ago, hundreds of years ago. So perfect tense makes a lot more sense in this, just as perfect sense makes a lot more sense in this, because Christ is even now God and man, but he suffered in the past, and he descended in the past. So why would we bring them up into the present as if he is suffering again right now? He did it once, and he doesn't need to do it again. So perfect is what I'm going for. Odd prepositional phrase with infernos. You've got the os right there for accusative, plural, and masculine, plus accusative. Interesting thing about infernos, not infernos. Inferos may have been typed up incorrectly by me. Sorry, I looked at the note that I wrote down about this, and my note has an in for infernos. So I'm wondering if there's an in there. That's another thing that I'm going to have to add as a note and point out at the beginning of the next video. But anyway, in infernos, at least, it can mean the Tuscan Sea when it's combined with the word mare. So it can be, he descended to the Tuscan Sea. But no, mare is not there, so we can't say that. Instead, what it means is like the lower world, the infernal place below. It can also, especially since it's masculine, refer to the inhabitants of the lower world, the shades. So those are three of our multiple different options. This one, most likely. Tertia, da. Da, we know, is going to be either masculine or feminine, as one of those few annoying fifth declension words that the gender is not set except in how it is used. And tertia here, this one is with an A, but this would be ablative. Just telling us that da is feminine this time, we know for sure. Not that it really matters too much, but ablative, singular, feminine together. I say ablative not based on tertia, but based on da, but the feminine is, of course, based on that A right there. So this is going to be an ablative of time when on third day. Resurrexit, it right there with the X tells us that this is a third singular perfect active indicative. A prepositional phrase with mortis at the end of this verse. Is plus ablative, and this is probably going to be masculine, influenced by inferos or infernos if I misspelled that, and plural. On third day rose again because re right there, because surrexit would just be got up, but resurrexit would be got up again, or rose again, as we normally talk about it in the church. From, and then mortuus, it's just a generic word that means death, dead. So since we've got plural, it could be he rose from the dead people, or it could be the plural collective thing that is where the dead dwell. So we could be talking about he's departing from the entities in the realm of the dead, or he's departing from the realm itself. It's not exactly clear as far as I understand how these words operate. And the easy way to say it is just the dead. You might say people, place. And there we have it. Thank you very much for joining me. Yeah. I hope you have a very good day. I'm very sorry I do not have any better option for recording. I could move it to the other side of the room, but then there would be the constant clink, clink, clink of droplets from a drain, which I also cannot really stop. Sorry. Farewell.